Hey guys, Shuckle King 87 here, and yes, I am back. Look at that. So I said I was going to be posting videos about leagues and such, and that was about 4 months ago, but here we are now. I guess now is better than ever. So I heard Leo, aka 6fthax, just reached 18,000 subscribers on YouTube, and was starting a Discord Pokemon League with his sub members in his Discord. Congrats to Leo, by the way. I've known Leo since probably 5th gen, and you, really chill guy. You should check him out. Put the link in the description below. But so here we are. We have this league. So in general, my theme going into this league was building a more stallish, you could say, or just focusing on bulk. I feel like in general, people tend to draft offense in the beginning, and then towards the end of the draft have a hard time finding good defensive cores just because there's not as many. I guess like the Pokemon Company tends to make more offensive Pokemon just because it's more exciting. So I also like to focus on Dragon Fairy Steel cores, or the priority or me, to get very good ones there. Fire Water Grass is very popular, and that's what I like to try to go to as well. But I really like a cool Dragon Fairy Steel core. Dragon type to sweep, usually a faster dragon. I like a bulkier fairy, and a bulkier steel type could be faster, like a Scizor could work too. In this league, there's 3 Z move users. So 2 of the users of those 3 can only use offensive Z move attacks if they have the Z crystals on them. But 1 member can have any use of Z moves. Now, like Geomancy and Evasion boosts and Omni boost are all banned, but I can have defensive or offensive for one of my Z move users. So you can see here, this was the basis of what I wanted to build a team around. Zygarde 50% is such a cool Pokemon. Never used it before, but with the thousand arrows, hitting flying and levitating pokes with ground type moves, that's very clutch. It just clears up so many weaknesses that it has, and in the gens before, it had to rely on Stone Edge, for example, to hit Skarmory, which wasn't that effective, and it could be shut down pretty easy. With 1,000 arrows hitting flying types and levitating mons, it frees up a extra move slot for Sub, Dragon Dance, Extreme Speed, you name it. It has a ton of options. So I wanted to build around that. I want to have a bulky core with Ferrothorn, Arcanine, Togekiss, Toxapex. Mega Sableye is the cool one there. So Mega Sableye in this draft, there's 3 tiers. There's a tier 1, 2, and 3 of Megas, some including unreleased Megas. But tier 1 gave you less options to use for your free points. Tier 2 gave you more points, and tier 3 gave you even more points. But as the tier numbers went up, the quality of the Mega Pokemon went down. But I thought Mega Sableye being in tier 2, oh, that's a steal. I would take that in tier 1. It's great to prevent hazards, deter them from using status moves. Very handy. It has a lot of bulk, recovery, can Calm Mind Sweep. Probably not going to be doing that as much. I'm going to be mainly focusing on Zygarde doing that job. But Sableye can definitely do it. Now the nerf with Dark and Prankster is a little annoying, especially because you have to Mega in this league on your first turn, but you can work around that. So otherwise, Salk is in tier 5. I think that was the best Pokemon in tier 5, so I wanted to make sure I got that. This team is fairly slow that I wanted to build. That's why I have Greninja in there as a fast momentum grabber. That's why I would grab Scyther in tier 5 as well to have momentum there as well. And with Mega Sableye, hazards wouldn't be that big of an issue for it. Alakazam or some type of strong special attacker that's also fast. In general, I like to have at least 3 Pokemon that are base 100 or faster in speed. So one of them can be 100, and the other 2 I try to tend to get higher than 100, just to have some speed diversity, because I feel like that's important to have. So this is the team I wanted to get in there with, and this is the team that I ended up with. Very similar, a couple changes, and I'll describe each of my picks here. So I was the 14th pick out of 16 in this draft, so I was pretty close to wheel and pretty far back. Not ideal. I like to be towards the front of the draft in general, just because getting your first pick of the best Pokemon, that's what you want. It's easier to build your team around that way. If you're at the end, there's good OU pokes you can pick from, but your options are a little bit limited. Luckily, Zygarde wasn't taken by the time I picked around. So I figured with the 14th pick, I wasn't going to have too many options with getting good Pokemon in each respective tiers, the 5 tiers. So I figured I was going to start getting my Pokemon in Tier 2 while everybody was getting their Tier 1 pokes. And then I'll be picking Tier 3 while everybody's picking Tier 2. So I'm always going to be a tier, I guess, ahead of everybody and making sure I get what I want in every tier. So my first pick is Ferrothorn, which is a Tier 2 pick. Has Stealth Rocks, spikes. Very cool. And bulky. So I can cater it to be a physical defense, special defense. Both hazards are very nice. The steel typing is great. That's what I want. I want to make sure I focus on a steel fairy dragon core. So this is the first part of that. Leech Seed is very nice recovery. I can run leftovers, Rocky Helmet. Not a ton of variety. I mean, Thunder Wave, Gyro Ball, Toxic. But for the most part, it'll probably be 6-7 moves I'll be running on this poke throughout the season. But it's very versatile. Even though it's 4 times weak to fire, I have some pokes that can patch up that weakness. I can run Anticipation if I really want to make sure somebody's running an HP Fire or something, which that's why you can see I do have the Zygarde in the back there. So, are you going to run HP Fire or are you going to run HP Ice? You got to pick your poison there. So that's why Ferrothorn's my first pick. And then coming with the wheel, I got another Tier 2 pick in Togekiss. This is the fairy of the Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Togekiss can remove hazards. So I think it's one of the best defoggers for the tier that it's in. So there's defog. It can heal Bell. It can wish if I really wanted to. I don't know. I'll be utilizing that a whole lot. I could go offensive with Nasty Plot. It has base 80 speed, which isn't great, but it's not terrible by any means either. Serene Grace, Air Slash, Thunder Wave. I mean, that can just 6-0 teams easy right there. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. I believe it has Baton Pass. Yes, so it has Baton Pass, so I might be able to boost and pass around some stats there. Not sure if I'll be doing that. I doubt it, but it's always an option. Fire coverage is very nice to hit steel types that would come in on this. I can set up dual screens. I can see that being a possibility. Reliable recovery is very cool. So that's why I have that. So I had about 22 picks or so between my next selection, which was Arcanine. This was in Tier 3. And this is what I wanted from the beginning. This was another poke from my original list. And this has very high stats and everything. The lowest is 80 and defense, special defense, but with Intimidate and 80 defend, 90 base HP. It's very bulky. It can take hits. Weak to rocks, I know, but as you guys can see, or you saw earlier, Mega Sableye should be able to patch that up a little bit, as well as Togekiss. I could run Flash Fire or even Justified if I want a more offensive approach. most likely I'd be going defensive with a Morning Sun, another poke with reliable recovery, which is very cool. I can go with 110, 100 base attacks. I can go physical with Flare Blitz. I can go special with Flamethrower if I don't want to lower my HP by using Flare Blitz. Roar, so that's another phaser. Will-O-Wisp, Toxic for spreading status. Gonna just be a very nice defensive fire type. I don't think there's not really that many in the game. So to get a good fire, grass, water core, defensive core to complement Zygarde, I feel like Arcanine is probably the best poke out there in Tier 3. It's definitely a steal for me. Extreme Speed as well, give me a form of priority. But I guess Togeus gets Extreme Speed too. Look at that. Alright, next, the Wheelless Greninja. So it's not Protean, not Battle Bond, unfortunately. Maybe I'll try to sneak one in there and nobody will notice. But no, it's going to have to be Torrent. And I guess people are surprised of this pick. And I guess picking it in round 4 might be a little bit of a stretch. This was a Tier 3 poke. So we had to pick 2-3 tiers for our teams. But Bay's 122 speed. That's going to be faster than 98, 99% of Pokemon out there that aren't Scarfed. And I said before, I want 3 pokes that are above 100 base speed. This is very high up there. I imagine most weeks I can run a mod as their Adamant Nature and still get away with the speed, outspeeding the majority of their team. Just a array of, got Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory, Gunk Shot, Grass Knot, has a ton of coverage moves. Hydro Pump, Ice Beam being strong attacks. I can go physical with Gunk Shot against Waterfall, Acrobatics. Could be a fast Spike user, can be a fast Toxic Spike user, can be a lead Taunt user. If say I don't want to bring Mega Sableye, but I still want to make sure hazards don't get up. The fast U-turn is what I talked about before. Something I really liked. I like to have a couple pokes that have momentum. And this is going to be one of my Z users. I feel like just because how I can essentially make it like a like Protean in a sense that I can just have a very strong not stab move. Like if I want to deal with a fairy type of the problem, I can use Z Gunk Shot. Or use the Ice Beam or Ice Punch, or use a very, very strong water attack with Hydro Pump. I have options there. I also like that it has a, down here, we got a Water Shuriken. So Water Shuriken is very nice as a priority move for Greninja. I would imagine it's either going to be Z or Life Orb. I could run Scorch if I need to get that much speed. I doubt I'll be needing to invest in it that much. So I still haven't gotten Zygarde yet. This is round 4 and it's still available. But in round, that's why I have Garchomp 5. In round 5, Garchomp was taken from Tier 1. And with the Dragon types, there weren't too many left in Tier 1 that I wanted. Now something when I focus on in drafting as well is that I don't pick something in a higher tier when I can get something that's just as good, or like 80-90% as good of a poke if I can get in a tier lower than it. For example, Buzzwold was in tier 2, and Buzzwold's such a good poke. Very tempting for me to grab at some point. But why grab Buzzwold when I can grab Heracross or Cobalion in tier 3? Fighting types, very strong. I mean, Buzzwold has a little bit more physical bulk, but it's slower. Heracross is a little faster and has better ability. It has Moxie, which is the same ability as Beast Boost, essentially, but also can run Guts. And Cobalion can go special or physical, so they both had more variety than Buzzwold. So I feel like Cobalion or Heracross would be better. Or I could even go, like I said before, Sulk in Tier 5, which I felt was the best Pokemon in Tier 5. Sulk has Sturdy or Mold Breaker, which are very nice abilities. Very just as strong physical attack as both of them, higher than Cabalion's, just as good as Heracross. So why go with those when I can just get a very strong fighting type in Tier 5? So that's my approach. So with Garchomp gone, I think it was Zygarde, Latios, are really the only two that I would be interested in as a setup mon. I can go Dragon Dance Latios is a very fun set that I like, or it can just be Life Orb, Special, Specs, it has a ton of options. Latios would have been something I could have gone for, a little more defensive. I would have had to kind of built my team to be a little more offensive at that point. Salamence is a Tier 1 I'm not a huge fan of, but it definitely has its merit with Dragon Dance, Intimidate. Z-Fly has great coverage in that respect. Anyway, being the wheel pick, and I knew the other two people behind me weren't going to get Zygarde, picked Uxie. Uxie was a Tier 4 pick, and this is my all Z user. So I can use offensive or defensive moves. So why I picked Uxie is we got that move, and we have this move. So Z Memento can it lowers the attack and special attack of the Pokemon it's on by 2, the opposing Pokemon, and it heals full the next Pokemon I bring into. So if Arcanine gets weakened, if Zygarde gets weakened, if Heracross gets weakened, just Z Memento heal them up to full, no problem. Z Heal Bell obviously works as Heal Bell, but also heals me to full. And that's great on Uxie because Uxie does not have reliable recovery like Togekiss and Arcanine have. So I can use Z Heal Bell and heal up to full. So if I know in a pinch I can live like 2 or 3 hits per Ramon, but leftovers aren't going to make that much of a difference between say a 2-hit KO and 3-hit KO. I can use Z Heal Bell and I'd be able to take 2 more hits than I would just with having leftovers. And obviously not going with Rest, because Rest can leave you vulnerable, especially with Uxie, because those attacks aren't that great. So another bulky stealth rocker is the main reason why I got it. It's decently fast, has very nice bulk, has U-turn for momentum. You can go Calm Mind, can be a very scary Calm Mind Pokemon if you're unprepared for it, because of how bulky it is already. And if you're at +6, even with base 75 attack, you're going to be doing damage. So that's the main reason for Uxie. And then finally got Zygarde. Oh man, gonna have a lot of fun with Zygarde this season. I have no idea how it lasted this long. I guess people are scared because of the 4 times ice weakness it has. But with base 108, 95, you're going to be taking HP Ices for days. It's going to be no problem. Just run a weakness policy on there. Run Yachi Berry. Got no problems. You can set Coils, Dragon Dance. It can be Rest, Sleep, Talk, Toxic. Just a very bulky set. It could be Choice Banded. I suppose Choice Scarf could work if I really felt like I needed something to deal with that. Like if I wanted to deal with Kieran Black around a Scarf to Zygarde. I feel like that's generally not a great idea. Could work, I guess. Base 81 special attack, not great. It has decent special moves though, so that could be a possibility. Third Pokemon with extreme speed, and then obviously the crux is 1,000 arrows. I'll be spamming that a lot this season, hopefully getting a lot of kills with it. Now the second half of the draft, I guess you could say this is really the only snipe that I had. So I have Neolego. I have here Caballion. Now I wanted Caballion as my fighting type wall breaker, but that was picked a couple picks before me. So I had to decide what I wanted instead. So I figured Heracross, Mienshao were both available, so I could grab either one of those later on. But I wanted to get a special attacker because my team doesn't really have that strong a special attacking prowess yet. Greninja does okay, but it doesn't really break walls. It can't really sweep. It's just a momentum Pokemon. So my two choices were Nihilego and Gengar. They are both still available. With Cobalion gone, I would really like to have a third Stealth Rock user on the team. Nihilego also gets Toxic Spikes. The downfall of Nihilego is it's a little bit slower than Gengar. 110 versus 103 can be a pretty big deal because 105 is a pretty popular speed tier. 107, 108 for like Terrakion and such. But something I'll have to deal with. I figured Mega Sableye was going to be around until it's the last pick. So I guess I didn't need a second Ghost type. But it was essentially between Nihilego and Gengar for a special attacker. Nihilego can also, in theory, sweep if I run a Choice Scarf, get a couple Beast Boost or Choice Specs to really wall break. It doesn't have the greatest moves. I'll probably be using 5 or 6 attacking moves. You got Dazzling Green, Grass Knot, Psychic or Psyshock, Thunderbolt, Power Gem, and Drilliet with the special coverage. But between those 5 or 6 moves, it'll deal all the damage. In tandem with like an HP Ice or whatever hidden power that I need, it's enough coverage that I feel satisfied with taking this poke over Gengar. And Gengar was picked later on, so I'm happy for that. Sneasel. So, I guess these 3 picks are all interconnected based on the amount of points that I had. So I could have chosen, originally, I was going to go for Toxapex, and Toxapex was still available. No problems. But picking Nihilego as a poison type, I kind of figured that was the handful of me not picking Toxapex. I knew I wasn't going to get it. That'd be too many Pokemon weak to poison, or weak to ground, because I have a couple poison types. But that's why I went with Gengar Nihilego, so I knew I wasn't going to go with Toxapex at the end. It's very passive. I wanted it just because of it's a bulky regenerator Pokemon with Toxic Spikes, and I'm a fan of Toxic Spikes, but I figured Nihilego can do the job if I need to. It can run a Focus Sash lead with Toxic Spikes on it. Greninja could do the same if I really wanted it to. I feel like that wouldn't be optimal, but I could. So I have the options there. So I could have either gone with Alomomola and gotten a couple tier 4 picks, or I could have gone, and the advantage there is very big wishes and also regenerator, so stays alive faster or longer. Or go with Pyukumuku, who has a very nice ability of Unaware. Can stop Mega Charizard X, Dragonite, very strong attackers. And again, we're pairing up everything to make sure Zygarde can sweep. So that's why going with Pyukumuku was going to be the bet. And I figured nobody was going to pick it. So that's why with the remaining points, I went with Sneasel and Heracross. So Sneasel is another one of my Z users. There's the third and last one. 115 speed, very fast. And 95 attack isn't great, but having knockoff, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, the poke that can deal with dragon types. And dragon types are a problem for Zygarde. Another thing that's a problem for Zygarde are fairy types, and that's why I have a poison type here. So these two are going to be the revenge killing pokes that are going to be problems for Zygarde, so we can set it up to sweep either Coil or Dragon Dance. I have as my Z move user because I could run, say, against a Florges, that might be a problem. Just run Poisonium Z, Poison Jab, no problem. Bulky Steel type, go with Low Kick, or Focus Punch, and the Fighting EMZ. They'll be handled. no problems. So that's why I chose that as as my other Z move user. It's gonna be that or Neolego, but I figured I really want to go Focus Ash, Choice Specs, or Choice Scarf just about all the time on that. And Life Orb is probably something I'll rely on Sneasel, unless if I know I have to get a certain kill against a certain poke and use Focus Punch or Poison Move or the other such. Not a whole lot of variants on it either. Fake Out is nice. Quick Attack, but I mean I have Ice Shard, so it's really not going to be doing too much else. Aerial Ace would be nice against, say, like Buzzwole, do a ton of damage on that. That's Sneasel. Heracross is going to be my physical, main physical attacker, my wall breaker. 85 speed is definitely decent enough. It has okayish bulk. 95 is fairly nice. Special bulk to take some hits. 125 attack with close combat and Mega Horn. Very good. It had Flame Orb. I guess got a little bit of a buff for Heracross in that it only takes 1/16 instead of 1/8 damage from Flame Orb. So that's why Flame Orb plus Gust is going to be a very cool combo to have. Gets Earthquake, gets Stone Edge, got a couple physical options there. Can run Substitute Sword Dance. If I want, I can go Choice Scarf, Moxie, and try to sweep, or try to get an initial, break a couple pokes down off, so that way Zygarde or Neolego can finish up. Or if I get weakened with Heracross, I can bring in Uxie and Z Memento and bring it back up to full, set up behind a Substitute Sword Stance, and go to town. So that's my plan with that. Pyukumuku could have also been my Z move user, but Uxie can actually use offensive moves as well as defensive. That's why I went with that over Pyukumuku. And plus I want to have leftovers on this poke just because of the very low HP stat that it has. It has decent bulk, and Unaware is a very nice ability, so I can ignore stat changes. Not too many moves, know what it does, but Time Pass, Memento, I can set up a curse for Zygarde. Say I want to go curse, and then I could Baton Pass into, say, a White Herb Zygarde, so I can remove all the minus speed drops, but still take all the attack and defense boosts. Another poke with reliable recovery, which is something that's another theme that I like to have. Light Screen and Reflect. Doesn't do a whole lot else. Toxic and Taunt are nice moves. Gets a Gastro Acid. So say I'm against a Calm Mining or Uniclus, Gastro Acid, nullify the Magic Guard, and then Toxic, and then I can stall it that way. So Pyukumuku it's a tier 5, which I feel like is severely underrating its capacities there. It'll do work this season. Just don't sleep on it. And of course, Mega Sableye nickname is going to be triggered just because setting up the you're not going to get hazards on me. So the standard set would be like Protect, Will-O-Wisp, Knock Off, and Recover. Just making sure hazards aren't going to be on the field for Arcanine, for Togekiss. Make sure no spikes are on the field. Prevent those from coming on. Very nice bulk there with a typing that's only weak to Fairy. And I got a Fairy Killer right there. So I'm not too worried about that. And I got Ferrothorn to deal with them as well. So I figured I'll be running this set a lot. Protect is nice to guaranteed I get the bulk early on because of the nerf to Mega abilities that I can't get a priority Will-O-Wisp off. But I'll be taking a lot of physical hits with this. Again, as I said before, Calm Mind is definitely an option. So maybe Calm Mind and Shadow Ball or Dark Pulse, whatever I need. And that would probably be the set that I would use, depending on what the bulk I need on Sableye. Nasty Plat, doubt that's going to happen. That'd be pretty cool, though. Power Gem for fire types, I guess. Sucker Punch, another priority user. But that's pretty much it. I don't want to spoil everything that I have planned for this team, even though the team builder's gone on pretty long. Just want to go a little in depth of my thought process, and I'll be putting up the first game of the season a week from now. So have fun, you guys. I'll see you around. Later.